Kin and Capital. Kin and Capital. Kin and Capital.
All right, welcome to the Kin and Capital podcast. We're your hosts, Christian,
Stop.
Mike.
No.
What?
Try again.
Why?
A little more enthusiasm. Y'all heard it, didn't y'all?
I wasn't. Look, I'm not here. I'm here, but I'm not.
What am I supposed to do?
He was like,
You don't want him so monotone? Is that what you're saying?
It was very monotone.
He wants you to like act
Show
like a
some
host.
enthusiasm, just a
Hey,
little bit.
what's going on, guys?
I
Welcome
ain't
to the
saying
Kin.
all that. I
Yeah,
ain't
he wants
saying all that.
the energy.
That's as enthusiastic as it's gonna get today. So hey, we might as well keep this rolling, right?
One more time. One more time.
But the funny thing is, though, I think, hey, we could keep going because we all talking about owning business and stuff like that. I just started mine really officially. I'm tired and stressed.
Let's go.
So
We can low-key keep this.
Yeah, fuck
Oh my God.
So this goes into the topic today.
Fuck.
Your host Christian, Mike, Christopher, and Alexis.
At least he's excited now.
Hey, today we talking about exit strategy thinking. So when is it a good time to leave your job or switch careers? And we can just dive right into it. Why this matters, why you should be looking at that if you're always looking to expand and grow. As I mentioned a minute ago, I think officially now we all officially own LLCs.
Mm-hmm.
So
Hey, can we get some claps for Juan?
oh yeah, for sure.
For Chris?
Let's
Thank
go.
you.
Let's
Thank
get
you.
it.
Thank you.
He officially started our Kin and Capital LLC, so
Thank you. Yes.
he was riding dirty before.
We were riding dirty. We were raw. So finally,
Oh my God,
it was
raw.
out here. Keep it in there. Keep it in. Just finally, bit down and just went through that process. It really is pretty simple.
How you feel?
I don't know. I don't know.
Right? It don't feel no different,
It doesn't feel any different, to be honest with you. It's
Need
just
some
like,
money
oh,
coming in.
Yeah, that's that. Once we start getting
Strategy.
putting together a strategy, right? How we're going to start bringing some profit in? What do we want? What kind of product we want to sell out? Other than this, right?
Yeah.
I know we had conversation before about certain products we can kind of offer up to the audience, but yeah, no, I just no different. Just we got an LLC now, so that's good though. We can start writing stuff off.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah,
Can't
Very
beat
true
that.
when it comes to podcast.
There you go.
And obviously we'll talk about that a little bit afterwards as far as like strategizing for what we're going to do and what kind of offers we're going to have and stuff like that. But let's dive into why an exit strategy matters when it comes to your job. Excuse me. I know we were talking about this a little bit upstairs about when you're building a career, when you're growing, why are you doing all that? Like, are you just making your career your end goal, or is the goal to build assets outside of that? And y'all know my opinion. We've all talked about that too. Like, the whole point of career maxing is to start obtaining assets, start building something outside of the job. It's always good to obtain skills. It's actually easier too. So now that we're talking about business and all owning an LLC, it's easier to build a business when you have money. I've heard of people try to do it with nothing, and I don't get how they do it. It's easier to build a business when you have more money to put into the business, to reinvest in the business, versus just relying on the business to reproduce income and then you invest it, and then reproduce income and then invest it. Like, if you've already got something on the side, it takes money to make money. You have to have something. Is it a good idea to leave your job? I know I started off by saying, when is a good time to leave your job to go full time into your business? One of the topics I have later on down, like, is it a good idea to do that? Or should you use the 9 to 5 to fuel it? What are y'all thoughts on that?
So you got to start from the beginning of, like, when you leave high school, what is your goal? What are your intentions for the rest of it don't have to be the rest of your life, but I think a lot of times people aren't thinking about, how am I going to make money?
Right.
How am I going to support myself? If your parents haven't given you the skills, the tools to answer that question yourself, or your mentors or your friends or your school, that's where it starts. It's like figuring that out, because a lot of us go into college right after high school. So what kind of career are you trying to get into once you get in? So we talked about this upstairs, right? It starts with, you kind of really need to have good people in your corner. People that can advise you to help you get to where you're trying to go. So if you're trying to go to college, what kind of college are you trying to go to? Right? Because of whatever field you're trying to get into, don't just take whatever college will accept you, right? Sometimes you do need to get the best one. I didn't understand that. I thought people were just trying to get the prestigious like school accolade behind their belt. Like, oh, I went to, Princeton or whatever, right? We didn't understand that because we don't come from that, right? We don't understand how huge that is as far as networking. Like just Princeton alone, you get the networking. So all right, you have your career that you want to do, you have the college you want to go into. All right, once you get out of the college and you've graduated, where you want to go work? This is another thing I didn't understand. Right? I just thought people wanted to go work for the biggest company and suffer, right? Because of whatever reason. But when you think about it, it's like they get the most exposure, they network once again, and then they're also getting the skills that they need to succeed, right? Even if they get the lowest pay. That's why interning was such a huge deal back in the day, right? Interning now is not what it used to be.
Yeah.
But back in the day, that was everything. It's like, yo, I got this intern. They don't pay me nothing, but they had everything they needed. So then after that, it's like, okay, how many levels within this career are you going to go up, right? For us in IT, it's like, okay, maybe I'm a help desk. Then I go to system administrator. Maybe I might go into network administration. Then from there, where do I go? So some people stop right there. And then you hit the ceiling, right? There's only so much money that they can pay you to do that job. And if you look at Glassdoor or anything else that takes the average of how much money people make in that role, you'll know the ceiling. It might increase year to year, but it ain't increasing like drastically. So then it's like, okay, maybe I'll become a manager. Some people don't consider the manager route because they don't want to do that. They want to stay technical. And that's where they get hurt. Right. If you don't consider all avenues or planned for hitting that ceiling and trying to get bust through it, that's when you're going to hurt yourself. So it's like, okay, I'll become a manager. I'll become a director. I'll become a CISO. I'll become a vice president. Like these are things like, it's like, why don't you want to be that? Some people think of it like they're the bad guys. Right. That's just how most people perceive them is they are the bad guys. And it's like, yeah, but they make the money. They're the people you're going to go to ask for a raise. Yeah. Guess what they not doing? They not going asking for a raise.
Right.
They making a lot of money. So it's like you need to really have that plan. And it sucks because if you start out and you ain't have nobody to advise you with that, now you got to figure it out. So now it's the time. It's like, okay, well, where are you now in life? Now start trying to figure those things out. Figure out like how high can I go? Because everywhere you go, as far as field or career, has a ceiling. And you got to think about, okay, well, whose ceiling is higher than that?
Right.
And how do I push? That's just where it comes down to.
Yeah, you touched on a lot and a lot of good points there. I think it all depends on you have to have a plan. A lot of times, like you said, as a kid coming out of college, you ain't really got no plan. You just really trying to just get a job to make some money. But once you get to that job, once you start maturing a little bit more, you'll start figuring out where you want to go, put a plan together. Like, I would like to do this. I want to do more. I want to do this. Wherever you're at, that employer needs to be able to work with you to help you excel and move forward on the plan you have set forth for yourself. At that point, if you feel like you're at a job that you reached your ceiling or your employer is not willing to provide the support needed for you to excel in your career, that's at that point you need to make a decision. Okay, this company isn't investing in my career, investing in my goals and aspirations. It's time for me to look elsewhere, right? Like Mike just said, every role has a ceiling. Every path has its wall that you hit, and then at that point, you have to figure out, okay, I'm at the ceiling. I reached the plateau of this particular role. Do I want to look and be in this? Do I want to go look in this area? Do I want to go in leadership? Like, you have to have a plan, and your employer has to be able to help you out in figuring out what that plan is. It's your responsibility to kind of tell them what you want to do. It's their responsibility to help provide that support to help back you. If they're not willing to do so, if it's not in the budget, or if they just don't have the time to do so or the resources, then at that point you have to realize like, hey, I'm not willing. If you're willing to stick around long enough to kind of see if you're able to excel in at your current employer, or whether or not you're like, hey, I'm not willing to wait around that long. I don't know how long it's going to take. I'm ready to make moves now. Then at that point, you got to make a decision like, all right, it's time for me to look elsewhere or start something on your own. Right. Start your own business. Right. So,
Yeah, because like what a lot of people don't consider is, well, I'll say this: a lot of people get comfortable. You can't get comfortable. Idleness will kill you. I'm telling you. Like when you're able to do something over and over again, if you can do it the same, why can't they pay you the same? You ain't doing nothing new. So why would you expect more money if you're doing the same thing over and over again? So it's one of those things like if I want to grow and this company cannot provide an avenue for me to grow, then yeah, you gotta go.
You gotta look at that step.
You should go. Because you're gonna want more. And if you don't leave, the economy gonna catch up. It's gonna catch up. Right? That's why, like, if you think about these millionaires or people in these big high positions, like, think about this: why would a CEO want to leave one company, go to another company? He's making millions.
Yeah,
because there's somewhere else with a higher potential where he make even more money. He understands that if he stays in the role that he's in, he's gonna be stagnant. It's gonna catch up.
Yeah, but you hit on something, Mike. I think it really all depends on the individual. Everybody. There's some people who just want to stay in their comfort zone. They're fine with just sticking to the status quo. But there's some individuals that have that character, that have that growth mindset.
Yeah.
You want to continue to grow. You want to continue to advance. You want to do more. There's something inside you that's telling you like, I need to be doing more. I'm supposed to be doing more. I just don't know what that is. That's that growth mindset. That's something that's like tapping in. You got to just tap into that, right? And like I said, not all employers are willing to help you tap into that. Right. If you are working for a really good employer and you mention that, if you got a good boss, they're like, let's tap into that. Let's see what programs can I get you involved with? Who can I link you up with resource-wise, networking to kind of help you propel you? But if you're not getting that backing, that support, if you realize, if you're like, hey, I don't want to be stuck in the status quo. I don't want to be comfortable. I want to step outside my comfort zone. I don't know how many times we said that in previous episodes. If you're at that point, and your current employer is not willing to help support or have any opportunities there to help you advance, that's when you have to start looking elsewhere. But it all depends on the individual, right?
It does,
If you have that growth mindset and you want to do more with yourself, that's when you have to start looking outside of where you currently are. If your current place of business is not willing to offer those opportunities to you, so
I guess it's a time like right now to just make the statement to everybody, like, just reflect on yourself. If you're comfortable, all right, I can't say nothing, because if you're comfortable, that's fine. But I understand nothing lasts forever, right? This job, for instance, right? AT&T been around forever, a very long time. And even they let go some of their people that had long tenures before retirement. Nothing's guaranteed. So it's like, if you're going to wait and be comfortable and relax, just know one day there is a possibility where somebody could be like, yeah, we're done.
Yeah, exactly. So one thing that came to mind when y'all were talking was, what if you are in a situation where there's no room for growth and you want to switch industries? At some point in every industry, there's still ceilings. You know what I mean? Like, unless you're in sales or something. Like that. And even then, there's still ceilings because you might have maybe you're selling a bad product, or maybe there's a lot of factors that play into that. I want to kind of shift the conversation a little bit too, because I know we've talked a lot about making moves to advance your career, but it's also important to understand that the limitations on advancing your career and the importance of doing things with your finances outside of your job, like investing in properties, investing in the stock market, investing in something else that's going to help you have a nest egg, or even if you have a 401k with your company that you can take from company to company, something that can actually grow outside of that. Because a lot of people take that for granted, or like some companies have stock options, stuff like that. Some people, like I wish, like for instance, when I was younger, I worked at Costco. I could have got stocks for dog cheap and didn't invest not one, because I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything about it. So
you didn't have an education.
Yeah, so I think it's important too, on top of us talking about growth. Why are you growing? Nobody wants to work doing the same thing forever. Everybody in America talks about retirement and stuff like that. How are you actually going to like make that happen?
Mhm.
You know, what are some strategies that you should take? Like, what should you be looking for when you're switching job? I think all that is a part of your should be a part of your decision making when it comes to either staying at a job or leaving to go to another job. Like, what does this offer for my future when it comes to retirement or just, you know, how's it helped me progress just with my finances in general outside of the job?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when looking for a job, like what should people be looking for? Like, because some jobs don't really offer nothing. Like they're, you know what I mean? Like
it
anything.
depends where you at,
Hmm.
like where you are in your journey, in your career, because you can't ask for the world and you ain't got no experience, right?
No skills, yeah.
Um,
That's
this is
interesting.
this is why you need a plan.
Hmm.
This is why you need a plan. And a lot of us sitting here right now, like we didn't really have a plan. We got where we are kind of just by finagling and getting and trying
Yeah.
and failing and succeeding through things.
Yep.
Um, when it when you're looking for the next job, if you're experienced, right? Like you can do this inside out, blindfolded, whatever, right? Then yeah, you probably should be looking for an opportunity where it's like I can get a better position and make more money. If you're starting out and you're like, hey, I don't get to work with this tool, I don't get to deal with these kind of clients, I don't get any like cool projects, then maybe that next role is something that opens up the experience of you, like, you know, increasing that skill set. Like I said, it just depends where you are in your career. I took a pay cut just so I could get hands-on experience with different tools and stuff for security because the previous employer didn't offer those, didn't want to hear my ideas, nothing like that. So I took a pay cut just to get that. And when I did that, I got what I needed. And I didn't even stay there long. I was there for 8 months because it was a nightmare. But I stuck through it for the experience and everything. The next job, like, doubled the salary.
Because you
So
had a higher skill set.
yeah,
Yep.
they were like, "Oh, you use this tool? That's what we specialize in, right?"
Mhm.
So it's just like making sure you're hitting the points in your goal, right? Like I need this and this and this to get here. All right, cool. Make sure you hit those points. If you're not hitting those points, don't be staying around for a long period of time and you know it's dead end.
Yeah. Yeah. I know everybody's. I always used to go off this notion of the grass isn't always greener on the other side.
Yeah.
So that's when you have to actually do your research and look into other companies. If you're at the point to where you're not advancing in your career at your current employer, you definitely want to do your research. But in my experience, and this is personally for me, I've I leave companies to go somewhere else off word of mouth and network.
Hmm.
So
That's
people
good.
I've worked with at my current employer, let's just say they got another opportunity at a different company. I keep that contact with them, and they'll be like, "Hey, man, we got this opening over here. I could put in a good word for you. We got this job. Hey, why don't you apply for it?" And I put in referrals, and then you pick that person's brain, be like, "Okay, what is it going to benefit me from me leaving my current situation where I'm at to going there? What's the culture like? Is the culture different? Is the pay better? You know what I'm saying? Like, how's leadership there? How are they looking as a company? What program do they have? Any advancement programs? And you just start picking that person's brain,
Yeah.
and then when you get into that, when you do decide to fill out that application, submit your resume, you jot down the questions that you want to ask that hiring manager, and you just ask like, "Hey, what about this? What about this? How are you guys with? Are you guys expecting me to hit the ground running?" Or are you guys going to give me that grace period to try to figure it out, learn processes, learn the procedures, learn the technology, or whatever the job is? Are you guys going to give me that 3 month grace period? You got to ask those type of questions. But a lot of times, in my experience, is really off of networking. When I feel like I'm at a point to where I'm not getting where I need to go at this particular job, I still have IT. The IT in Indiana is very small.
Hmm.
The community, so at some point you're going to end up working with the same person at some point in a different company.
Interesting.
That's just how it is.
Yeah.
So you keep those contacts because they might go into a better situation. You talk to them, they'll bring you along. So that's pretty much how I've kind of personally moved from company to company, just by keeping in contact with people and just listening to. Because there's been some individuals that went to another company And I'm like, that's not in my best interest to go where you're at. So I'll take my chances to stay where I'm at. And there's other individuals who be like, man, that sounds intriguing. I get more money, more opportunities. There's a better career path. You know, there's really no plateau for this particular job family or whatever.
Yeah.
Let me see what's going on with that. And then you have that support from that person that you've built a relationship with from your previous job. They could put in a good word for you. Boom, you're already in there. So networking is a really big piece. But one is just really do your research. Is the grass greener? Is the grass always greener on the other side? It's not always greener. You're always moving from company to company. In my experience, every company has something that you're not going to agree with or be happy with. You just got to pick your battles. You pick what you really want to deal with, right? Like the culture might outweigh the fact that you get paid less than your last company. The money might outweigh the culture being trash. You know what I mean? Like you just got to figure out where you fit in and what's really comfortable for you in order for you to make that jump. I don't know if that answered your question, but
No, it did.
I want to say something though. You made a good point about culture. Like, culture is a huge thing. People don't realize that. Like, if you've ever been in a real toxic situation, it's pretty much unbearable. That alone will make some people quit by itself.
I was just about to say that was one of the topics was when do you know it's the right time to leave? And it sounds like what y'all saying is income is not always the number one motivator.
No,
it's not always.
Yeah.
I mean, you man, you might leave for one job just to realize like
a little more peace of
I
mind.
don't. Well, it's just like I don't spend time with my family or have time for myself. Like that's one thing. Like I make more money, but I don't get to spend the money.
Yeah, or even taking a title cut. There's such thing as so. I went from being in my previous job. I was already a manager, but I took a step back in title and went back just to being an engineer. But I got paid more. I got paid more.
Seriously, it's a okay. So let's just say a disclaimer here. We're only talking. At least me and Chris are talking from an IT.
Yeah.
I don't know how other industries work. Like I know our industry is very particular. How like it is
crazy.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe it's just the experience, but there's no loyalty when it comes to IT, like
That's
industry.
no, everybody's replaceable.
Replaceable, and I don't owe you nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
Like at the end of the day, I don't owe you jack.
There's
dog.
like 1,000 other people out there waiting and looking for a job opportunity. You mess up, they don't owe you nothing. They're like, oh, I got so-and-so right here waiting for a job.
And then like no, seriously, because people like
Wild West.
companies will cut you off just as fast as you'll cut them off. And it was funny. I had an interview some way back, right? And they were like, "Hey, we noticed that you only stayed at your current position for like 4 years." I was like, "Huh?"
Only.
Oh, that's almost like
Yeah, because the one before that was 8 months. They was like,
Oh.
"Yeah, we just need something to tell the hiring manager because they might be concerned about that." I was like, you realize I've been at this job for 4 years. You know, that's not a typical thing.
Yeah.
4 years is pretty good.
In IT,
and
for
it's
sure.
cybersecurity
In IT, for sure.
alone, that's pretty good. Because most people are just trying to keep going. So it was one of those things. I was like, all right, man. Like, yeah, I'll explain why. Like, you know, it wasn't a good situation just because of the culture. And there's, okay. But just that alone, it's like you're going to check me for my tenure somewhere else because you think I might dip because that's the culture of the IT where
sure.
people bounce so much. Like, that's why it's like we got to put a disclaimer because it's volatile in our industry. It really is. Like, you just don't know what's going to happen, what's going to impact something to make other things happen.
Yeah, so y'all started touching on something that kind of, I think, was what made me think of this idea for the episode, and that's let me off something. Y'all are talking about a lot about when it comes to a company, you're pretty much replaceable. And that kind of got me thinking about the reason why we all decided to start LLCs in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're the whole topic of today is when do you make the decision to leave? I think it's a little bit more important to talk about why is it important to start making a strategy to leave? Why is it important to start building a nest egg?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we can go into like what's the real motivator as to why we all start an LLC?
It's different for everybody.
Yeah, but it has something to do with us having an understanding of I'm replaceable.
Yeah, you gotta have a
the
backup plan.
company's going to care about the company first.
Yeah.
The company is looking out for themselves
Yeah.
first.
Yep.
If you're not let's say for instance, you're not a culture fit, and they start getting complaints from other. This happens at my place of work all the time, and they're getting complaints from other employees that this guy's this and that, blah blah, and they deem it as workplace bullying. They're gonna let you go, even if you're a top performer. I've seen that at our company before. Straight up, like
Workplace
bullying is a thing. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it
If they
is.
feel like you're hazing people or whatever the case may be, they'll let you go because you're not a fit for the culture that they're trying to build. Or just other things. There's a lot of, at the end of the day, if somebody else is calling the shots,
You ain't got much of a
your
say so.
ceiling is, there's no ceiling here. There's a ceiling everywhere where you don't have ownership.
Facts.
You see what I'm saying? So looking deeper into this topic of why we're talking about, why do you move from career to career, or even better yet, why should you start your own thing or start investing otherwise into something else like properties and things of that nature?
Mhm.
It's because you need more control of it. You need more
Yeah.
control of your future than just what somebody else can provide for you. And nothing's guaranteed. I mean, even when it comes to investing, I mean, if you own a business, somebody sue you or something, or whatever, there's always going to be risk to everything. But I guess, I know we're probably getting to the end of the episode, but I really wanted to take a moment to really talk about the importance of not just talking about the career portion of why you're leaving, more so why build a nest egg, why dive deeper into something else or start investing into something else.
I think for me, it came down to the fact that I needed more money. And
Yeah.
it wasn't like a greedy fact. It was just I needed to be able to purchase something that I didn't have the means to do.
Yeah.
And I wasn't gonna go to my employer and be like, "Hey, I need this certain amount of money or something like that,"
Right.
because they pay me pretty well. It's more so me trying to figure out how to get that money. So the only thing I could think of is like, okay, well, what can I control that can possibly control how much money I bring in? And so that was the reason why I started it. Just like, okay, we have something that we have control of that we can say when it ends, right? Instead of somebody else dictating that.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, mine is more so making sure I have something left behind if something happens to me. So basically, if
That's
something
important.
happens to me physically or health wise or whatever, or let's just say my job for some reason they got to do a cut, they got to start cutting people to meet numbers. And what if I'm in that list?
Yeah.
What's our plan B? Right, that's my main source of income. I gotta have something to kind of can piggyback or keep us going until I find that I can replace that employment. But my biggest thing was just like, what happens if I leave? What's gonna happen with my wife?
Mm-hmm.
Right, is she gonna be taken care of? Right, if I lose my job, how are we gonna sustain how we're living today? Right, so that's where the notion of multiple streams of income started to come in. You got to have something to fall back on because nothing's guaranteed. Anything can happen at any time.
Yeah.
Your company can be doing good at one point, then tomorrow be like, well, we got to do some good.
Yeah.
And you are in a high salary bracket than everybody
Oh my
else.
God,
Yeah.
that terrifies me.
Yeah, we got to let you go because we're
Yeah.
going to save some money.
One thing I was going to say, for me, I think there was a mindset shift when I started looking at my job in terms of my employer is a client of mine.
Mm.
If I lose that one client, I've lost my entire income because that was my only income producing
Mhm.
asset.
Mm.
If I own a business and I now have multiple clients, let's say I'm serving multiple of this same entity,
Yeah.
I now have multiple income producing assets. When you lock yourself down to one income producing asset, which is you in the job, that's the only means of producing income. Once that's gone, you're done.
Yeah.
So if you can find a way to have income coming in from multiple things, not just your job, that's important. It's like you said, what if you break your leg? What if you work a physical job like me and my hands get burned or something?
Oh, facts.
You see what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
there's. So we were talking about so going into mindset when it comes to how to look at your job is what made me want to start investing in other things
Oh, right.
and starting a business. And it was looking at your job like it's a client.
Yeah. Oh,
You know,
right.
if
Yeah.
let's say for instance, I look at my job like as a client. That client pays me $50,000 a year on a retainer
Mm-hmm.
because they're now a client. You're looking at it from that perspective. If I
Mhm.
lose that client, I've just lost all my income.
Right.
When you start a business, and let's say you follow a retainer model, or in general, every business follows a retainer model typically, uh, you're now locking in multiple ways to produce income for yourself. So you're now not your only income producing asset, or that job's not your only income producing asset. The importance of creating assets and things outside of your job is because if you lose that job, you're done. If you get injured, you're done. If somebody decides they don't freaking like you, you're done. You have to, I think that's the importance of like what we're talking about, and why initially we all start seeing a little something when it came to our situations. We've been inconvenienced at some point in time. We've all lost jobs, and you start thinking, man, this sucks. Once I lose this thing, I lose everything. You know, so having multiple ways to bring something in. I'm not talking passive. I know everybody's big on passive income. Just building something in general on the side of what you're doing. You know, stuff don't become passive for a long time. If you're invested in properties, it's not going to become passive right away, because you got to manage that property. You got to, you know, a lot of times you're replacing tenants and different. So you have to do stuff with that. But having something that can produce income as a nest, you know, as a nest egg is important, because that one client can decide one day, well, we don't like using you anymore.
I'm a bring up an example of something that I didn't realize. There's this TV show that my wife watches called The Gilded Age. Really good show. It actually drew me in, mainly because of one of the main characters, Mr. Russell. He's like a railroad tycoon, right? And they had this thing where there was a society in New York where you either come from old money or you come from new money, but they didn't want to blend the societies together. They wanted to keep it separate because one wanted to preserve like the cultural and historic value of being from old money. And what was interesting was in the show, they show a black community of a bunch of rich black people in Brooklyn. And what was interesting was like they had maids and servants and stuff like that. And what I thought about was like, wait a minute. Okay, so they were living like that back then? Where did we get away from that? Because even they segregated, right? They were like, what you do for a living? What kind of money your people got? They would separate, right? So you either had money or you didn't have money. And so what made me start looking at the show and looking at my own life was like, dang, I realized what that rich black community was doing. They were trying to keep like reaching new heights, right? Making sure that they were staying above water and having their own business, having their own control, as opposed to being at the answer of somebody else.
Right.
Because back then you either worked for somebody as a servant or like one of the characters, you don't get to see them, but like they swept and worked for the pharmacy, and the black owner, right, owned the pharmacy. So it's one of the things like, do you want to sweep the floors? Do you want to be the owner of the pharmacy? Right. One actually has the money to like pay for things in case of emergency, or just like, if you want to do something. So that's what I started to think about, like when I was looking at myself, like, okay, what do I want to be able to provide and do? I'm not a greedy person. I don't want much, but if my family needs something, I need to be able to provide that. That is my sole responsibility, because it ain't nobody else's responsibility.
Right.
So that's what made me think about the whole fact of, do I want to control something or be at the mercy of somebody?
Right.
Because when I'm at the mercy of somebody, not only do they dictate how much money I make, but what I do as well.
Outside of that,
Yeah, so it's like one of those things that it's tough, because a lot of people don't understand. I didn't understand for a long time. I didn't even know for a long time until we started doing this, and I started just opening my mind up to different things. I was like, man, you telling me my family of generations ain't nobody figured this out? You ever think about that? Like, ain't nobody in your family. Well, I won't say nobody in your family, right? Because I think somebody in their family, like, at least has like a rich cousin or somebody like that, right? But they ain't passing no knowledge. But it's like you're having to figure all these things out, and like we're in our 30s, 40s, right? And it's like, yo, imagine if you had this in your 20s, balling, right?
Yep. Well, that's kind of the point of what we're doing today too, making sure the kids know, you know what I'm saying? But when you think about it too, not to get on the cultural stuff too much, but we did get a later start in society.
But that's what we want people to be aware of. Like, if you ain't thinking about it now, think about why you ain't.
Yeah.
Right? Because then that'll help you when you need to put the next generation on.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's pretty much all we doing. It's like, yo, either with us or you're in the next step.
Yeah.
Or you're trying to prepare the next step, right? Like, I think when we think about our own kids, it's like, I need to start teaching them. What point do I start teaching it, right? Like, is it when they're a teenager, when they're 10? Like, I need to start developing and letting them know these kind of things, because if we were armed with the right path, like, I was thinking about this earlier, like, my dad, he didn't really know what to tell me because he hadn't experienced anything differently, right? He just knew you needed a good paying job and you were good to go. But just sending me to college is just a point. You haven't armed me with the right knowledge and tools to be like, okay, how do I navigate through college, right? Like, we got our young sister right in college right now, and I had my wife check on her. I was like, hey, see how she's doing, because I know what it was like to go through college. There's some things you don't realize you're going to experience through college. See how she's doing. Like, be open to having a conversation with her to help her navigate through it. You got the bursar, you got your advisor. These are people that have a responsibility to you. But if you don't know what they're supposed to provide in that responsibility, then you might miss out, right? If they're not advocating for you and trying to put you on game, basically, right? So
Yeah, I think too. I just thought about this too. I think we're missing talking about like just our generations and people before us. Why haven't they taught us the tools and things like that? I think being minorities, I would be remiss to say that some of the issue with us not being able to move forward in our current places of employment or whatever is because we're underrepresented at work.
yeah,
We're minorities, we're Black.
yeah,
So we're not afforded the same opportunities that our other, I'll call them peers are, our friends. We're not given those same opportunities because of the color of our skin. So when you think back, it's like we're not taught certain things is because they weren't given those opportunities either.
So it wasn't even an
Right,
they don't even
exactly.
know what to even tell us, what advice to give us. All they knew was like go to college, use a degree.
Exactly.
Because they weren't afforded those opportunities and they were misrepresented at work. That's why they have the hard labor jobs like working at the post office.
Yeah.
Because they're just
wasn't even a possibility.
it wasn't a possibility back then, right? So and also going back to the conversation about when do you know when is a good time to leave where you're at. That misrepresentation can be a factor in that as well. If you work for a company to where you feel like you see that your counterpart who looks different than you is moving forward, but for some reason you have to go above and beyond, work 110% more than your peer just to kind of get ahead. At that point, you have to make a decision with yourself. Is this the company I want to continue to work for? Or do I want to find another company that kind of matches with my value, my core values, right? So I think we have an extra layer as Black men in the society to where we have something different that we're fighting against when it comes to continuing to move forward in our career versus our friendlies, I'll say, our friends, right? That are minorities. So just kind of keep that in mind when it comes to like talking about people before us and things like that. They weren't afforded those opportunities.
That's true.
So a lot of times they don't know what to tell us.
That's true.
Exactly. And that was my point. Like, they didn't know, but we know.
Yeah.
Like, and if you don't know, there's too much knowledge out here. Like, if either avoiding it or you're just choosing something over it.
And if you do know, please share it with people. You know, that's the point of this podcast as to why we're doing it. Mike said it on another episode before. If you know something, share it. It's frustrating, nothing against people that do this, but when you do run it into somebody and they tell you, you should have started that sooner. It's like, well, did nobody tell me?
Oh my God. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, it's not my fault.
Yeah.
Ultimately not, because nobody taught me that. So I think the importance is like what we're diving into a little bit is teaching up the next generation to do stuff, like properly teach them, educate them. I think, I know we're kind of going that route a little bit, but as we wrap up here, be the first to do something. Be the first. Like, we do need more Black owners out here. We do need more people investing in bigger things. And I guess pet peeve of mine is stop saying must be nice. Instead of saying must be nice, just do it. Just get stuff built, get stuff done. Be the first one to do it. It might take more sacrifice than you've ever seen. But if you don't do it, who's going to do it?
Yeah.
If you don't do it, how your kids gonna step on the shoulders of what you've built? And it's always, there's never a passing of a mantle when your kids get of age. It's just, all right, good luck. You should be passing on what you've built. Okay, here's what I was able to create with the life that God blessed me with. Do more with what I've built. But it's never none of that. It's just good luck. And you're out of 18.
And just something.
Figure it out like I figured it out. Or
Yeah.
the worst one that people they gotta learn like they gotta bump their head like I did. Says who?
Yeah.
Where does it say that in the Bible? Where's the rule book for that? They gotta no, they don't. I get that you don't want to build, like for instance with men, you don't want to build soft. You don't want men to be soft, and they've got to go through some. But life is going to present its hardships, regardless if you make them go through the hardships or not.
Yeah.
So if they're going to go into a job, let's say for instance you've built a business, and now you're handing it off to them, they're going to still bump into they're still going to run into difficult customers. They're still going to run into this. They're going to learn the hard way, regardless if you make them learn the hard way or not.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess finishing statement of this video is, be a pioneer for your family. Be the first one to think differently. If you're constantly unsatisfied, don't leave it there. Don't just stay in a place where it's like, must be nice. Oh, I wish I had this, or that makes me want to play the lottery. Well, stop. The lottery's not the only way to make it big. Take your skills and expertise, or if you don't have any, if you think, well, I've got 20 years of experience in this one thing. No, you don't. You really only have 1 year of experience. You've just been duplicating the same thing over and over, year in, year and out. And you're not doing anything different. You've got 1 year of experience in the one stupid thing. I got 20 years of experience with a forklift. No, you don't, because there's no building upon forklift skills.
You've just been doing it
for 20 years. So educate yourself. There are plenty of platforms out here, and I think one thing we can do. I'm sorry to get hyped. Hey, you told me to bring some emotion. I'm not trying to diss nobody. This don't go. I don't even have nobody in mind when I say this stuff.
No,
but it's
good.
frustrating because I was stuck in that too.
Yeah.
Thinking, you know what I'm saying? And I think one thing we can start doing with this podcast is for sure, is maybe even posting stuff, links to stuff. Like people don't understand the importance of like, just take some Coursera courses. Like recently I got 2 certifications through HubSpot.
Yeah.
Just educate yourself. I really want to dive into the sales world deeper and educate myself. And you can do that in any field that you go into. Obviously there's fields where you need degrees. Like you don't want a freaking doctor that's self-educated. That doesn't make sense. But there are a lot of fields out here where you can, and even if you do got to pay for it, like, I remember watching a video that Unc sent through about elevator technicians apparently can make up to like $200,000 a year, but you got to go through an apprentice course for like 2 years. Take the course. How are you going to better yourself if you still just a forklift driver? Like, just take the course.
What
just
are you doing as an elevator technician though? Like I don't know, that would scare the living crap out of
here.
me.
It's not something I would want to do, or apparently linemen get paid pretty good now.
Oh, linemen always have been paid very good.
You got to get education for that. You got to, but just don't take, we talked about this in an earlier episode. We're really bad in our community of taking warehouse jobs or janitorial jobs, and it stems from what we were just talking about. That's because we were stuck in that mindset of it's not possible.
Yeah.
We just didn't go for them. Well, it is possible now. And if it's not possible in your current position, go start a company where you can make it possible for other people. It may sound overly ambitious, but there's people doing that. You see what I'm saying? So not to dive too deep into it. I know we can kind of go into a whole episode about that
what
too.
people should take away for sure is only you know when it's time to leave.
Sure.
Right? Only you. You can talk to whoever you want, but your confidence, your feelings, your intuition, that's what is really going to boil down to you to leave. Now, I think one thing we should say is if you had the feeling like, oh, I need to leave, don't disregard that.
Right.
People focus too much on where the next place is. It's like, okay, you'll figure that out when you get there. But if you feel like you need to leave, just make sure that you're aware of that and you're honoring that feeling. Like, yo, I know I need to leave for sure.
Absolutely. I keep hearing the timer go off, so I know we need to wrap things up. So.
That was just for 45 minutes. So, like, yeah, you cap us off.
Yeah, so just to wrap things up, hope you got something valuable out of this episode. Again, really what I think the best takeaway for this episode is just be a pioneer. Be the first to do something. Take those sacrifices. Take that leap of faith and go for taking that next step in your life. But that's all we got for today. Like, share, subscribe. Where are we posting that now? We got YouTube. We got where are we on now?
I mean, every podcast platform pretty much.
Okay.
The other thing we need to tell people is hit the bell notification icon because people have been asking me like, hey, when's the next episode post? Or I don't know when to be. Like, you got to hit the bell notification and make sure your settings are turned on
So you
to
can know when the
receive
next
it.
one drops.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. Well, with that, that's all we got. Peace out.